Welcome to the Warrant and Finance Committee workshop. This is our first one for the budget season 2013-2014. It is May 8th. And what we're going to do here is just essentially the first pass through the warrant, comparing it with prior warrants and just talking about whatever comes up. Article 6 is the amended solid waste handling agreement. Let's try number 6 and not number 7.
Did they get you a copy of the agreement?
Yes,
The 40 pages?
32 pages.
Okay.
Or 31 plus an addendum, if you want to be purist.
Paul asked me if I wanted a copy of that, and I said, it's not necessary.
Well, we signed it, what do we got, 13 years left, 14 years left? And it's a 25-year contract. The only thing that changed is we paid a lot less now.
Okay, so the interesting part here is going to come up, but basically, Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute and deliver an amended solid waste handling agreement between and among the towns of Acton, Casella Waste Systems, Inc., and Pine Tree Waste, Inc., to replace the existing solid waste handling agreement between and among the town, Casella, and Merck for the balance of the existing agreement's term through June 30, 2025. A copy of the closing agreement is on the file in the town clerk's office. So this actually started in 2000, is that correct?
Yeah, that's when the contract was first signed, and it was signed by most of the towns in York County. And they formed a group and hired a lawyer to do the contract. And whoever was the selectman at that time kicked in the money to be part of the group, and there was money left so that when this happened, we didn't have to pay a dime. The lawyer's fees were there. The same lawyer that wrote the contract stepped in. They negotiated for us and brought our fees down from $88 a ton to $70.50 a ton with an agreement. It'll only go up $1 per ton per year for the remainder of the 25 years.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Are you getting good sound at this point? I don't see microphones around, so.
No, I am.
Got it on me?
Mhm.
Okay.
You want me to go up there?
Well, if you want.
We're starting off basically, next year we have an 8.7% decrease, but as you said, there is a clause in there, an escalation clause regarding the cost. So obviously, we're not going to hit this right on the nose. I mean, I'm just using the tonnage that we're budgeting for next year. Who knows what's going to be happening in the next 12 years, 2025 or
Well,
12 years, yeah.
what we did is we left it at the same price as it was last year, which was, I believe, $68 a ton. And it was supposed to go up to 68 in January. I can't remember which way it was.
Yeah.
We left that same figure in there, but then we took some back because Bob had some increase on the haulers. The people that come and haul the dumpsters and things out. So there was increases there. So we deducted those increases, plus we deducted the 1.7% raise that we gave to all the employees. So Bob is coming in at a completely flat budget, but there is still more in that line item than they actually need. But he asked for that in case something breaks down in the middle of the year. One of his compactors is can compactor, his glass breaker or whatever, or one of those things breaks down. He has to have some extra money in his budget.
So you're saying it's actually less than last year? Excuse me, it is less than last year, it's the 8.7.
Right.
But what's on the budget is this 64,084. Unless it's
Right.
changed since last time I saw it.
Right. If that's what last year's budget was, that's what we left on there.
Well, it's actually decreased.
Oh, no, you're right.
It went from the 70,239 this
Yeah.
year to 64,084.
Right. And the reason for that decrease was to cover the increase in the transportation cost and the 1.7% raise. So Bob's budget is staying flat. He's been doing amazing every year since he's been in there, always giving money back. So that's one of the reasons we want to ask for any rollovers that come from his department or the fire department or even our departments here at the town hall. We're going to go into capital improvements fund. It'll still stay in the undesignated fund, but it'll be designated for capital improvements. So if the dump needs something, the fire station needs something, town hall needs something, then we'll go back to the town and ask them if we can use that money, rather than just taking the 40,000, putting it into the undesignated fund.
Okay,
and not having
I
any
definitely have
purpose.
some questions about that one.
Okay.
When it comes up.
A few years back, just to get us track here a little bit, but, when the town started selling property,
Yeah,
we had set up a capital improvement fund, and that's what the money from the sale of the property went into.
yeah.
Is that Article 8 or 9 or something?
And we're still doing that, Ted.
We are. The only property we've sold since I've been here was on Loop Road. It was an old, probably 50s mobile home.
Right.
And the gentleman was in the, what do you call it, Veterans Hospital for 3 years, and a tree had come down and taken the roof out.
Right.
And nobody from the family ever went, so the place, the inside, I mean, it was the most terrible place I've been into. It was mold growing and everything else. So we put a $10,000 fee on it, and the whoever bought it tore the trailer down, and now they're using it. So the difference between what was owed on taxes and the $10,000, which came up to like $8,000, that went into that for capital
was
improvement.
talking about.
Yeah. And we do have a piece of property up for sale right now, which will be the same thing.
And that's Article 10 this year. It's been a fixture since I've been, as I can recall, since I've been in town meeting, or at least most of that period of time. Okay, so the bottom line with this though is, yes, we're gonna be reduced to, the 64,084, but in, 8 years or 6 years or what have you, we'll be up to this year's rate, and then a few years after that, will be 6.8%. And so at the end of this contract, we'll be 6.8% above current, the 7239 figure.
Right.
So all of this is, and it's obviously fakery at the bakery here. It's not really gonna happen exactly this number, because it's not all gonna be 909 tons every year.
Right.
Could
be
the
less.
town's gonna grow, we may, depending on recycling rate, all that stuff. But all things being equal, apples to apples, we're going to be, by the end of this contract, we'll be 6.8% above, but for most of this period, we are below the current year's rate. So it certainly does seem to be reasonable for the town.
Well, under the last contract, you have to remember, it could go up to a 3 to 4% increase per year based on the economy. Now we're just up to $1 a ton, there's no percentage rate
Okay,
left in there,
so
so it's gonna save us a
Certainly
lot.
less risk.
Yeah.
And here's our,
If I could, before you go
Yeah.
too much farther,
Yeah.
Paul, go back to what Ted was saying. The price that last year was around $70, and this year is,
No, last year was $86 a ton.
this just represents the current year, the 7239, the
okay,
year that we're in.
$70 a ton right now.
Yeah, that's when it started at January 1st. It was supposed to go up to $88 a ton,
Okay,
and they dropped it to $70.50 a ton for this year, and then January 1st next year it goes up to $71.50 a ton. So it goes up $1 a ton per year, where under the old contract, it went up 3% per year. So we were going from,
It did go up or it could go up?
that's what it was normally happening, that's what was normally happening,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we were going from, with that $70,000 figure, we were going from, I think, 85 up until January, it was gonna be 88 as of January, $88 a ton, so it's $3.
So this certainly appears to be a bit of a coup.
Oh, it is, and it was kind of a nightmare when it happened, because what happened is Biddeford decided to close the trash burning facility and bought it out, and then we're all scrambling trying to figure out where we're gonna put all our trash, and come to find out, we're shipping it all the way up to northern Maine, cheaper than we could take it and burn it in Biddeford, so I just don't understand how it works that way. But the other thing they're doing is they're stopping it halfway, tearing everything open, and then recycling it again. So if the taxpayers recycle more, I mean, we're doing about $30,000 a year now, they recycle more, that's less tonnage going out, more money coming into our pocket, and Casella's not getting that recycling money.
you been to that graveyard up there where they bury all that stuff?
It's a big old quarry.
Great big thing, and they got them vent pipes everywhere, and they're going up, you can go by it, going up to Bangor.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the big hills up
The
there?
big hills,
Yeah, okay.
that's where they're taking it.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're just burying it.
So this
Yeah,
is
they're
our
making
lovely
mountains pretty scary
32
pretty soon.
That's gonna do ski, so what?
32-page agreement. There's actually a couple of things that you might want to look at on this one, Ted. I know that at the last selectmen's meeting, you were talking about the change in our address, that we don't use the PO box anymore.
Oh, yeah,
So you may want to get rid of that on that.
no, on the contract,
Yep.
yeah.
And then, right at the end. Oops. Kim? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just have Bob do an address change with Casella, because that's the only one that really matters as far as the contract goes. We've got, I think, 15 towns that have signed it, so we don't want to have to go back and have all towns sign it because our address is going to change.
The other thing that was at least worth mentioning is that they'll sponsor 50% the occasional domestic household hazardous waste collection.
Yeah,
So
we
we
talked
haven't done
about,
that in a while, so that might be worth taking advantage of that.
well, we talked about that, and it sounds like a good deal, but when the town runs it, it costs about 10 grand for the town, so it's still gonna cost us five grand to do it, you know? Some of the towns have gotten together and done one, but I can get the figures exactly, but the way they talked about it, it's a huge cost to do it.
Yeah, I think we did it with Chapel last time, and it was 5 years ago anyway.
It was quite a
I
while.
think,
Yeah.
at least 5 years.
You know, I mean, I think the transfer station is one of the best things that we do for the town. And if there's enough money to do something like that, then we should do it, but I know Shapley just did one with another town this past year, so they're probably not gonna be ready for a few years, but we can look at it. And Bob was with us at the meeting, so I could ask him to look into it for us.
So I actually did read through all of this. I can't quote large portions of it or anything, but the only thing that I found that was really notable is the things I've already mentioned.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just reasonable. There's recourse for all the parties, and everybody's going to be diligent. And here's what happens if you're not, and there you go.
Yeah, and the members that were there were Lebanon, Acton, Shapley, York, Wells, Kennebunk, trying to think, Alfred was there. So these are all the towns that are in this same agreement. That's why we had the power to negotiate such a deal that we did. Because that's, when you put all those towns together, that's a lot
Right,
of money.
there's actually a list here of all the,
Oh, it does have a list?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
at the end somewhere.
Yeah, I'd like to give kudos to whoever the selectmen were that year, because they did an amazing job for the town that's still paying for us.
And I hear, they do an amazing job down there anyways. I hear a lot of positive about the town, just the people that work down there.
Bob's done so well, and
Yeah.
he's turned the place around, and it's professional, and the employees are professional. and-
Yeah, the employees are professional.
Yeah, I think it's a reflection of my age, when I never remember the term transfer station. It's like, no, it's not the dump. I know it's not the dump.
Well, I still call it the dump because it's what it was when I moved here, but everybody corrects me all the time, so.
Transfer station, that's it.
I mean, you use the back end and you dump your stuff, so it's
You
all the
didn't
time.
even have a gate.
I know. Big night out Saturday shooting rats.
Well, at any rate, somewhere in here. Okay, is there anything else that we need to talk about this? We will be having another workshop, we'll also be having a meeting in which we'll be giving opinion, but I think that pretty much beats that one up. If anybody's interested in getting a copy of this from the town hall, it is available either, I presume if you wanted to print it off, you can pick it up at the town hall, or get an electronic copy, they do have them available. It is not currently posted to the website, presumably because it's all still draft. Hasn't been voted in town meeting, but.
Well, as selectmen, we had to vote to go temporarily from January to June.
And that's
And
what
then
the
the town,
signatures will.
then the town makes it official for the remainder of the 25-year term.
Okay, so it really is sort of there at this time.
Yeah, it was a temporary agreement. If we didn't do that temporary agreement, we wouldn't have had any place to put our trash for 6 months until the town voted on it, so.
Okay.
So this is what the attorney recommended us do, sign it as and we signed it as a temporary agreement, and then bring it before the taxpayers in June.
Okay, number 2. So this is Article 7, to see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to appropriate and expend monies from the undesignated fund balance with the advice of the Warrant and Finance Committee for the purchase of equipment or uses they deem advisable to meet unanticipated expenses and emergencies that occurred during the fiscal year 2014. Maximum expenditure, $15,000. So if we look at what we've got this year, article number changed, they do. You'll notice in the succeeding warrant articles, the term select board has been changed to Board of Selectmen. Otherwise, the phraseology is the same other than the year change. So it was last year's 2013, fiscal year 2014 coming up, and the dollar amount is the same. So, and in fact, this goes back, I'm keeping on the detail and on these individual articles and on the spreadsheet, I'm keeping 4 years worth for view. We just rolled off 2009. So essentially, it's been the same in spirit at the very least for this whole period, including the 15,000 going back last few years.
Yeah, we changed that to 15 back when we bought that fire truck. There used to be 5, and we didn't have enough money to buy the fire truck. We had the $5,000.
So that's the one we bought from you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, the next year we changed it to 15, it had been 5,000 for 20 years.
And this doesn't cost additional tax money, this is just money that's in the undesignated fund, and in an emergency, we can use it to do whatever we have to do.
Right, and
With the advice of the Warrant and Finance.
And you'll see in the budget, actually, a fair number of these articles actually have the budget attached, and this one really wasn't necessarily a lot of value added by doing it, so you'll see it in upcoming articles, but we do have $15,000 in budget for undesignated funds, and when we don't use it, I presume, it does not look like we've been using it. I know we had 20,000 last year, but it was added to, because it was not an emergency per se, that came in a town meeting, the police
Right,
coverage.
well, yeah, that was an emergency, so that wasn't done this way. That
But
was,
it did come out of the undesignated.
it did, but that was by the approval of the taxpayers on the floor.
Right.
But that wasn't part of the 15.
It was not part of the.
It wasn't an emergency.
You'll see that in the budget.
It was a special town meeting, it wasn't an emergency.
Right.
And this year, it is in the budget.
So in fact, law enforcement service right here, 2012 Article 2, special town meeting. So we actually approved 20,000 for, so this one actually came out of undesignated, and now there's a budget item for the rest of them. And the
Right.
total's gonna be 100.
Right.
Okay, so I actually put a copy up here as well. So what I did, to try to keep this kosher for to jive with the budget, retroactively, because of the special town meeting, I threw $20,000 in here from 2012. Which is the current year that we're in.
But that'd be different, Paul.
What's that? It's gotta go somewhere. But if you look in the budget, you'll see that there's
No, if you look, go back to
$20,000 for.
that, go back to that article you had before.
Which one? Law
I
enforcement?
mean, the page you had just before that showing the 4 years of the
Yep.
law enforcement.
I'm pretty sure this will come to the same place here. I've got just 2 links to the same document, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, down the bottom, see for calendar year 2013, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 40,000. Oh, you just put that in yourself, that's not part of the budget?
Right.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood, okay.
Okay.
So basically, 4 years.
Yeah,
Because, and I said calendar year 2013 because you started on, at the turn of the year.
yeah, we started at
But
January
it was
1st.
really the 2012 budget that we were dealing with. Yeah, this business about having the fiscal year at the 6-month period is definitely verbally confusing. And especially since the school considers it differently from us. The school actually considers this to be, we think of it 2013, 2014, they think of it as 2014, 2015, reasonably sure.
No, they'll be 2013, 2014, because their school year will start in 2013 and end in 2014.
Okay, and we're 12, 13.
Right.
Okay. So Article 8, Acton Fire and Rescue reimbursement. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to reimburse the members of the Acton Fire and Rescue for any national disaster or state of emergency or other emergency situation that exceeds 8 hours in duration at the same rates as established by Article 24 to be assigned at the fire chief's discretion. Firefighters or rescue members, same as laborer, fire chiefs, same as road commissioners, funds to come from the undesignated fund balance.
Now, the only time we use that is if FEMA says we have an emergency and FEMA gives us the money. If FEMA doesn't give us any money, then we don't pay them. FEMA, we just had a meeting on, what was the big storm that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night? Nemo. They're actually gonna pay us for snow plowing on that one.
Really?
Yeah, we put in, we're estimating $20,000
That'll
reimbursement.
help us on the overdraft.
But the fire department didn't have any calls, so they didn't put any claim in for Nemo. The one before that, they didn't claim it as an emergency, which was just as bad. The firefighters were up all the time, down poles and all that kind of stuff. So they only get paid that pay if FEMA gives us the money.
The wording in that, Ted, in the article, I don't really understand why it's there. Paul keeps moving the thing, my eyes are getting all blurry.
Why do we have the article?
No, I understand the article.
Yeah.
And I was a big part in making sure that, they did get paid for this.
Yeah.
When they started this years ago. But the part of the article that said, it says under the discretion of the fire chief.
Right.
I don't understand that, I guess.
The money goes to whoever he says worked. It doesn't just go to all the firefighters. They don't.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's in there. The fire chief, which does the paperwork for FEMA, tells us how many people work, and then when the check comes, he puts in the payroll for whoever did work. So I think that's where the discretion
And
is.
presumably the designations too, you're a firefighter, you're a rescue member.
Yeah, exactly. He has to say what pay you're getting, because they have different pay rates. They use the same pay rates as the road commissioners do, so.
But I guess I don't know.
If you look at Article 24, I think that's the pay rates for the road commissioners, right?
Through the little,
And the firefighters and rescue get what the laborers get.
Firefighters are rescue members, same as the laborer, right, but he decides,
What the labor rate is.
no, he decides who's the laborers, who gets the lower rate, who gets the higher rate.
you work in what capacity, in this capacity, therefore you get this rate.
You may be eligible to be an officer, but you're not voted in as an officer, so he'll say you're getting the laborer rate. You're not getting the officer rate, which would be the same as the road commissioner rate, or the higher.
And that's the
CDL rate,
$11, $18 per hour and the $24.70 per hour.
Yeah.
From Article 24.
So he just determines whoever worked, which pay class they're in, just like the road commissioners do for their employees. They determine which pay class each of their employees are.
You good with this one?
Yeah.
Okay, disposal of town equipment. 9. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to dispose of surplus town-owned equipment having a value of less than or equal to $500 on such terms and conditions as they deem advisable, and to execute any necessary documents to accomplish said purpose. All equipment having a value of more than $500 shall be put out to public bid. And this one, other than that Board of Selectmen versus Select Board thing, does seem to be pretty much in keeping. There was a legal opinion in 2011, which added to it. Before 2010, it was, again, unchanged for a lot of years. And then there was a legal opinion.
Yeah, in 2011, we had the attorneys go through the whole warrant and update with current state laws to what the articles should read, and that's when we get a lot of changes in the articles. A lot of them were just, it's just change of language over the years. It was, I mean, most of the articles are still saying the same thing, it's just legalese.
Regular meeting was the same.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, ask them more to talk about.
Or was made clearer, or,
Away the charges. Can you?
and this is one that we were talking about recently. Yeah, previous. And we're talking about the sale. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to put the funds received from the sale of the tax-acquired property during the year 2013 and 14 into the capital improvement fund. And this is basically the same, and I think every once in a while we kind of mung up the year. This one was actually supposed to be 10-11 in 2010, and we kept it the same from the year before. But 11 to 12, 12, 13, 13, 14. There's really not any changes on this. So really, we're going to be augmenting this in the next article by throwing that additional funds in there.
Have you given any thought, Ted, to, when we first started that account, we sold a piece of property, one of them was for like $35,000,
Really?
okay? That was down in Flat Ground Road. And
How long ago was that?
5, 6 years ago.
Wow, I didn't realize there was that much in there. I thought the only thing that was in there was 8,000 we got from Loop Road.
Well, there isn't that much, because we spent it.
Oh.
But what we spent it on was when we did this town hall, because at the time.
Oh, the floor and the walls.
Right, because the insurance company had shut the town hall down, we couldn't use it.
Mm.
So we took that money to make the improvements to the town hall so we could use it again.
Yeah.
And I guess my question would be, have you thought at all about tapping into that again to help with improvements to the town hall?
Yeah, well, Kenny's just come to us. As a matter of fact, we just met today. I came in to help move the offices around with my students. He keeps pushing for this big bump up front here,
Yeah,
you know, for the elderly trying to get up there and everything.
it's great.
He wants to put a retaining wall and a very long wheelchair ramp and then a staircase instead of having that big bump of tar there, which I agree with. And he's got an estimate of anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. So my intent was to ask for that this summer to do that job for next year.
So- We'll be voting, yes, an article we'll be voting on at town meeting.
Yeah, for us to be able to use
Use
those
that.
funds for that project. Yeah.
Because what you're gonna do is come with a ramp like this,
Yeah,
and then come up like it's supposed to be,
right.
and.
And we'll do away with this, we'll do away with this ramp, this will just be a regular entrance, but there'll be a nice long paved ramp going up that way. And then over by the library, there'll be a staircase too, so if you don't wanna go all the way over and use the ramp, you can use the staircase. And then there'll be a nice retaining wall, so it'll look nice. I mean, I watched an elderly woman go down there one day with one of those canes with 3 feet on it, and she had and her car was right there, she had all she could do, and it wasn't even bad weather. So, I mean, it's definitely, you know, and we're not up to code and everything else.
And if you remember when he was first in office, I spoke several times about,
Oh, yeah, but not having the right wheelchair ramp, yeah.
it was really accessible, it was very dangerous out there.
Yeah.
And then you could take that ramp, where it's movable,
Put it over here.
be perfect for handicapped accessible exit,
Yeah.
fire exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we?
Good idea.
What's that?
Had somebody fall out here one day, like a couple years ago?
That's before we got the lights in.
That somebody did. didn't they?
Oh, yes. And before we lit the building up, we had one light bulb outside Kenny's office and another 60 watt outside this door. So in the wintertime when any meeting was after 4:30, everybody had their flashlights to walk to the cars. And so that's when we took the money and put on the exterior lights, which most people got adjusted to it. They seemed to work out pretty well.
So Article 11, this seems basically to be the same as the, in previous years.
Well,
Other than the Board of Selectmen versus Select Board.
Well, no, the other change was the year I came in, or maybe the year before I came in, the part where selectmen cannot bid on the property. The selectmen or their family.
Well, isn't that what?
Is that still in there?
It's always been there, yeah.
Yeah,
To see if the town will authorize the board of selectmen to sell any tax-acquired property and to issue a quick claim deed for the same. Sale to be by sealed bids or public auction if to other than the owner of record at the time of foreclosure, and no selectman during the term of his or her office may acquire from the town any interest in real estate acquired by the town on account of non-payment of taxes unless the owner of record at the time of foreclosure was the selectman or the son, daughter, spouse, or parent of the selectman. Yeah, that's been,
that started,
That's been-
Nancy and Jim Driscoll put that in.
Yep.
Oh, so it's been that long? I
It's been-
thought it was when you were in just
No,
like,
no, that started with Jim Driscoll.
oh, that's a good idea. I mean, you know.
Tony and, Nancy was like.
So this one, okay, so in prior years, in 2011, there used to be another matter, the whole authorizing the treasurer to waive foreclosure. That used to be all part of one article. And to authorize the treasurer to waive foreclosure. So now that's been carved out since 2011, and it's a separate article, I think it's the next article. But basically, this is, we see this every year,
Yep.
waive foreclosure. So this one.
Yeah, when we lucked out this year, we had 6 properties we thought we were gonna have to foreclose on, and Michelle did a great job of pushing further to family members, and they came in and paid the taxes and kept it. There was
Awesome.
2 large lots on the H Road, a house that the gentleman had a seller, but didn't have money to pay the taxes, and the buyer came in and paid the taxes so that the sale could go through. So, I mean, some really last minute things were done, or we would have had 6 properties up instead of 1.
When I became selectman, there was 2 properties that people were living at, that the town had foreclosed on. And it'd been over a year, and the people were still living there, and nobody was doing anything about it.
And the town's liable, once we take ownership, we're liable for that property if something happens to them on
That
that
was one of
property.
my big projects to get that straightened out.
Yeah,
It was quite a mess.
yeah, we're supposed to go change locks on the door the day that we take ownership of it, because if something happens on that property, the town is liable, it's town property as of that day.
So Article 12, this is another, Articles 11 and 12 used to be melded back in 2010, and they've now gone their own way. Since 2011, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen upon request of the treasurer to allow the treasurer to waive foreclosure of a tax lien on the specified property for a specified year with reference to the tax lien certificate recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, in circumstances where the Board of Selectmen determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Acton to waive foreclosure. And certainly, it's a wonderful thing we can do that.
Well, I saw the town of Milton use it, remember the old tannery? That tannery that was down there was a nightmare, it was a toxic waste dump. The federal government came in under that big cleanup and cleaned it up and everything. And Milton owned it for years and years that they wanted to take it because of the taxes, but if they did, then they would have to pay for the cleanup. So they just ignored it and they just let it go, and then the federal government came and cleaned it up. But,
And now we're blessed with a toxic fill.
yeah. Well, no, they dug down 10 feet and hauled it out and burnt it all and then brought it back.
Oh, behind,
So nothing will grow, but on the other hand,
Oh, what did I do?
Dave Orbit's piece.
Oh, they were hauling from the tannery to there?
That's where the cesspools were, and we own that.
Yeah.
We're blessed to own that.
not everyone can be so lucky. Okay, tax payment due dates, another one that we see every year.
Yeah, it's just based on the calendar and the,
Yep. So we got Tuesdays again. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to have real estate and personal property taxes first payment come due on October 15, 2013, and second payment on April 15, 2014. So last year we were dealing with October 16, 2012, so that looks good. And April 16, 2013, April 15, 2014, so that seems reasonable. And again, sometimes we, at least not recently, mess these things up. So this one, not much more to say than that. Even for me. Okay, this one goes with that. Article 14, to see what interest the town will vote to charge on all taxes after October 15, 2013, and April 15, 2014. Maximum rate of interest allowed is 7% per annum.
And that's set by the state every year.
And the dates do match to what's in Article 13, and you can see here that, sort of similar structure. Dates match, and it look like 11 and 12, 10 and 11. Not quite sure what they did back then, but it's been pretty standard since then.
It was just what
I'm pretty sure
the
it's on-
Tuesdays were, Paul, that's all the reason why the dates are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year, Monday was the 15th and went unopened, so we had to go to Tuesday.
So,
This year, actually, April 2.
as far as the percentage rate, back a few years, it's been 7%. So basically a late charge for late taxes. And then the next one, this one came in fairly recently, but it was way at the end, and this year got moved up because it kind of belongs here. Last year it was Article 40. To see if the town will vote to set interest rate to be paid by the town on abated taxes at 3%.
Yeah, that was the same time we had the lawyer look at everything else. Because we didn't have that article in there before, we are required by law to pay the interest on abated
That's
taxes
7%.
at 7% unless we put a different number in. So that's why we started that 2 years ago.
And here we don't have the explanation, it's just there. And since we've had this, we've left it at 3%
Yeah.
for the last 3 years.
It's better than the banks.
Hopefully that's
I don't know if you-
necessarily a good reason to file for abatement, but hey.
I don't know if you heard Lorraine at our last meeting. Since the reeval, we've only paid out 10 abatements since they reevaluated the whole town.
Well, considering the possibilities.
Yeah, with reevaluating the whole town, we actually only had to pay out 10 payments to the 10 landowners.
When I was talking to Ted, we had 3-4 a week.
You know, and that was the reason that we needed to do the reeval.
Sure.
Yeah.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to make application for and execute any documents related to any grant or donation, to accept any such grants or donations or any fees, and appropriate such funds for their designated use. So this one kind of went through the ringer back in 2011 as well. Previously, there was just basically the one sentence. And through legal advice, it was enhanced, shall we say.
We're hoping
Makes sense.
we can finally get some grants. The selectmen, the road commissioners, and several members of the fire department, we just took an OSHA course that qualifies us now to apply for FEMA money. And it's been probably 10 towns in the state of Maine that actually got free fire trucks by applying for this FEMA money. So we're going to try and apply. We're going to need another truck in 5 to 6 years. So we're eligible to apply now, so we're gonna try and get the next fire truck for free.
Get some kind of grant action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many out there, and now that we're qualified, especially the FEMA, now that we're qualified to do it before, because we didn't have the emergency management training, we couldn't apply, so we had to go through this course first, so.
So when we talked at the workshop for the town budget,
Yeah,
there was some mention of maybe being able to, find somebody that could sort of have a role as writing grants kind of on the side and also be, in addition to regular duties, or even just plain more than earning their keep as a grant writer. Is that?
well, a lot of grants, if somebody writes them, they can write into the grant their salary. So I mean, if there's somebody out there that has success with writing grants and wants to write grants for the town, then, their job of writing grants for the town would be contingent on them getting grants, and then their fees would come from that grant, and that's very acceptable and legal. So if there is anybody out there with successful grant writing skills, we'd be happy to have them come in and see what they can do for us with the town and with some of these things. In particular, right now, we need a salt shed, we're gonna need another fire truck, things like that. If we can get money for that, I mean, that's gonna be a huge savings to the taxpayer.
So I usually have it goes that somebody, they'll get paid if they get the grant for us.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah, they actually, when they write up, they set up the grant of, how the money's gonna come in, who's gonna be in charge of it, what they're gonna do. You have an administrator that oversees that. The person that writes the grant can become an administrator and put salary into the grant, and that's very acceptable and legal, where they would have a job for the duration of that grant, so it could be a year, 2 years, 5 years, depending on what the grant's for, where they would actually have paid jobs that wouldn't cost the taxpayers a dime, plus we get all that money. The other thing is, a lot of grants are matching. We have to go to the town. If somebody was gonna give us $100,000 and said we have to come up with $100,000, say for a salt shed, then we'd have to go to the town and get them to approve the matching funds before we could accept the grant.
That might be how the town of Stanford does it, I'm not sure. I know they have a grant writer, I watch at meetings and I was talking about their grant writer.
Yeah. Yeah, and the grant writer gets their pay out of the grants that they write. So it's kind of like, you don't perform, you don't get grants, you don't have a job.
Nice way to do it. Okay, Article 18, snowmobile reimbursement funds. This one also went through a retool a couple of years ago. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to appropriate all the funds received from the state for snowmobile registrations to support snowmobile clubs, 2 snowmobile clubs. I thought it was 4, and I'm missing the letter, but I'm just reading it wrong. To snowmobile clubs for maintaining their snowmobile trails on condition that those trails be open to the public for outdoor recreation purposes at no charge, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement with said clubs under such terms and conditions as they may deem advisable for that purpose. So last year we had Select Board, this year we have Board of Selectmen, but I'm reasonably sure it's exactly the same. In 2011, pretty much the same, and before 2010 it was a bit more terse. And the legal advice at the time was to get some steroids. And I've been doing that ever since. Article 19, okay, that's where it gets fun. It's general government. To see if the town will vote to raise $647,623 and appropriate $671,736 for general government Department 102 to be expended as follows. And the remaining balance to be funded with $2,000 from cable revenues and $22,113 from Fire Department Capital Improvement Fund for expenses related to their use. So this is really the first year that I can recall where we've actually had a raise and appropriate 2 different figures.
Right.
Because we've got additional funds coming in other than taxation for this department.
Right. If you remember, we had $175,000 in the fire truck improvement, and the bid came in at, if you can lower it so I can see that number again. The fire truck total bid came in at $22,113 less than what the town approved. So we had borrowed money to match the $175,000, so we used the loan money first to pay down. Then we have a reserve because we only paid them 80% until the truck is done, which we're very happy we did, because there has been some issues that we've had to deal with, nothing serious, but having that $20,000
Makes it pay a
cushion.
little more attention.
Exactly. So that left, after we paid from what we borrowed and what we had in 175, that left $22,113. So what we're gonna do is put that in towards the payment for next year, towards the fire truck payment, which is $57,000 or $58,000 a year. The other thing that we're gonna do so that the budget doesn't increase is for the last year, 2 years, for last year, we asked for $75,000 towards the new fire truck. We're still gonna ask for that same amount less what the payment is. So, in other words, there'll be a figure for the fire,
And there
truck
is
down there.
there is more detail. in
Yeah, and I can explain it there, but that's where that 22,113 comes from. The town approved us to use that money for the fire truck, that's what we're gonna do. That's why our budget is going up more, but we're not, we were trying to keep the budget down. Because we were almost to the point, you know, where the school has to ask this question, do you approve to go over what the state says that you should run on? And they do it every year.
I thought we
For
did.
the first time, we
actually
almost,
consider
no, the town has never done
that.
it.
Came close.
Well, we did this year because of the county taxes.
No, I sort of thought that we had actually triggered it this year.
Well, we did until we did some creative stuff, so now we're not there.
Okay.
Yeah. We found some funds, we got rid of some costs, and we made it so that we don't have to do that. We actually thought we were gonna have to put $40,000 forward just to keep from the state then, and now we don't even have to do that because of the things that the different departments were willing to do. You know, you have to give them credit. I mean, a lot of them kept their, all of them kept their budgets flat, but then they recreated their budgets to make them work better for themselves. I mean, they had funds and things that they weren't really spending on, and then going over budget in other areas, so they recreated their budgets, which have helped a lot too, so. Road commissioners, for one.
Yeah, actually, if you don't count the 132, 133,000 extra on the county budget, which we will talk about.
Right.
The county taxes.
Yeah.
The net town budget actually went down.
Right.
Gross and net, probably.
Yeah. So we did our best, you know, we knew we were gonna have that huge increase, and, you know, our other choice was, we could have gone to the town and borrowed the money, but we've already got a year and a half left on the rear valve, we've got 5 years left on the fire truck,
Yeah,
and of course, that window thing that we did last year for
Yeah,
25
we've got this
grand.
stuff going on, 5 years, 1 year, 4 years, 5 years. It's kind of nice if we don't add another one to it.
Exactly, and our other choice was to go through a 5-year payment plan with the county, but they were gonna get the loan and charge us the interest, so we don't know what they would've gotten for an interest rate, you know?
So this number here, this 350, is actually the net figure. You'll notice that this raise is the one that's bolded. So that bolded number is what is summarized in the items below. So that 350 is the net of these two numbers, and we'll see that momentarily. Last year, we do have all the same departments. We don't seem to be missing anything. And roughly basically been the same in prior years. And so this is the first one where I actually stuck the budgets on there. So what we have here is the budget book from April 22nd down here, but because it doesn't have some things that kind of helps to go through it, I've got a different version of it, which proves to the same numbers. If there's anything that's on here that you question, we can go down to the original document down here. But basically what I also got here is the article numbers. So over on the right here, we have the proposed, and on the left is the current year, and these were the article numbers for the respective years. This particular one is article, what, 19? 19.
Yeah.
So that's what all this stuff is. All the 19s are the items that we're talking about. And another thing that affects this particular budget is a shuffle that occurred from other parts of the budget. The window loan, the fire truck loan, the reval loan, those were moved from elsewhere. So there are other departments that decreased in their budget simply because these items were moved.
Right, and that was at the recommendation of the
didn't really
auditor.
help as far as the numbers that we're looking at here.
Yeah.
And the increase for municipal management. It's really a numbers game here. Some of it is a shuffle. Most of it, the stuff that really matters is the county taxes.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a one-time thing.
Yeah, so if we could look at 19, general government, 671,736 is the gross number. And that's why we're appropriating 671,736, and then we're removing these two items, or netting them out for the 647, 623 from taxation. That's where that comes from. And these other ones are actually, I moved them up here because they're actually part of general government now. They do represent line items, and I don't bother diving into them, but they're there if you need them. Item 20, appropriation for health and welfare.
We went up, I think, the first year or second year I was here, to $25,000 because we had unusual amount of people that, we went from 15 to 25, and then we've gone down, well, 15 went away, but the 108 was for the town nurse. And then this year we've gone down again, back to where we were, for a couple of reasons. We've gone down to 10, we went down to 15 last year and then 10,000 this year. The state has changed the requirements in order to get assistance from the town. It makes it a lot more difficult for people. And we changed the hours to only Thursday night, so it made a lot of people, people were coming in whenever the town hall was open and going in for general assistance, and once we made it, you could only come Thursday night from 4 to 8, all of a sudden a lot of people weren't coming in anymore, so.
Well, that's also the whole work for your,
Well, yeah, that was the other thing we put in place. If you were eligible, if you were able to work, unless you had a doctor's note that said you couldn't, then you were required to work however many hours based on $10 an hour towards how much we gave you. And until you completed that work, then you were not allowed to get any more general assistance again. So it made us go from 25,000 down to 10,000, but that doesn't include the free oil that we get from different places and things like that, so we're still helping people out that way. So it's changed quite a bit. I mean, 25,000 2 years ago down to 10,000 this year, and we still feel we're helping people. Anybody that comes in, we still feel we're helping them to the best of our ability, because that's one of our titles as selectmen, overseeing the board.
Do you have a written policy on that work program?
On the work fair, it's in the state general assistance, it's in there that it tells us how much we pay them per hour and all that, so it's under the general assistance rules and regulations that come from the state, so we just take it.
They put it in their regulations now.
Yeah.
Was it an option for us, or?
It just never was enforced.
It used to be years ago.
Yeah.
They used to send people down to the school.
Yeah.
They used to have people work on the roads and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been sending a lot of people up to the dump.
And then it just went away.
Yeah.
And nobody was doing it. And then, like you said, you guys started doing it again.
Yeah, and it's worked
Well,
well.
will you jog that slightly to push it to the left a little bit? There you go, thank you.
Yeah, so, they'll come in and they'll work and,
You don't need a written policy.
no, because the state, it's right in the state how you can do it. If somebody comes in, and unless they have a doctor's note that says that they're disabled, or if they're on social security that says they're disabled, we can make them work before we give them any more money.
Is the state saying that you must make them work?
No, it
Is that option?
says you may. Yeah, and it tells you the rate. It's $10 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be in the best interest of the town that if you did a policy, so that the future select boards
Yeah.
would have this to fall onto,
Yeah.
so it doesn't go away again and just out of?
Yeah, because, well, the other thing is Lorraine's the one that knows everything about general assistance too, so if there's a policy to follow through, you probably not be Lorraine's not there or something like that.
Just for the future.
Yeah, and we have a policy committee, and I'm sure they'd be willing to do that for us, so we'll pass that on to them, that's a great idea.
So on general government, just again, talking the gross number, this year it's going up 11.6%, and that's entirely a reflection of the county tax. Health and welfare is going down 33%, as we said. Public safety is going up very slightly. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $157,997 for public safety department on forward the expended as follows. In these, a couple years ago, I think there was a little bit of a shuffle. Yeah, EMA was added.
I think it's because they started paying EMA, right?
Yeah, stipend.
Yeah.
The EMA line is a new stipend for the EMA director back in 2011. What in the world? Oh, okay, yeah, fire department.
Well, we had them take the CBA, put it into a
Right,
second article
and that
last year.
was, last year, that comment was just because it had changed from the workshop to this, follow-up workshop. So the 10A, that principle is being carried forward this year, there's still two separate articles.
Right.
SCBA. So if we're looking at Article 21 here. So here's the majority of public safety fire. The SCBA equipment down here is going to Article 22. And the total for that department is 137,778. 124,978 is the net for this article because the SCBA is been removed. And then this is also in Article 21, it's an individual line item for public safety animal control.
And we have decided not to put the ambulance question on this year because the ambulance association is just not ready yet. So we're gonna put it off for another year, so that's the whole budget for it.
That's meaning the merger of departments.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a 124,978 for the fire department at large without the SCBA. You'll see the 10A in the next article. Streetlights, 1,700. Animal control, 8,230. Right here. And then the next one is the, let's see, 21,796 for the communications. And 1,293. And you can see the percentages increase and decrease if anybody's interested in kind of looking at the individual line items as we go through this. I'm certainly not going to point them out for the most part, but all the individual line items and the individual department totals plus the warrant totals are increase, decrease around here.
And there is no increase in any pay to the fire department because we increased all the employees. But the fire chief felt that if we weren't going to increase the stipend by 1.7, that he didn't want to take the 1.7% raise, so there was no increase in anybody's pay in the fire department.
So this, when we had the workshop for the town budget,
Yeah.
those stipends were in there.
The stipends are still there, but we didn't increase them.
Okay, so there are still, I got you.
The stipends stay the
Yes.
same.
Yes.
What we had done is we said all employees, so that the chief and the assistant chief would have gotten a 1.7 cost of living increase, but the chief felt that if the firefighters weren't going to get an increase on stipends, then he should. And the reason we did that is because there's too many different departments that get stipends of like 100 or 250 and things like that. So we didn't want to go to 1.7 increase on all stipends. So because the firefighters are stipend employees, not regular employees, we did put in for a raise.
So this stipend line here had not been increased, but the ones for, the department head and supervisor had. But those are rescinded at the request of the fire chief.
Correct.
And that's the $896.
That's why all of those are zero change.
Yeah, his words were, his guys couldn't get it, and he didn't want it.
And, more power to them, man.
Yeah.
You want to keep peace in the house. And where is here? The next one, Article 22 is the
That's an
SCBA, 10,008. Oh, there it is. So this one did not change.
No.
And did you actually get a feel for, I know they're rotating several sets of equipment out, they're trying to keep the town from getting a hit all at once and swapping all this equipment out, so they're trying to get the worst needs first and roll them every year until it's done. Did you get a feel for whether it's a 3 or 4 year cycle, or are we just gonna be seeing those for the foreseeable future?
Well, I'm gonna keep questioning it every year. I questioned this year because I saw they have 6 brand new ones still in boxes that they haven't used yet. But then I found out that those are going on the new fire truck that's being built, so that's why they got those. Well, what's happened now, as Peter explained, is they're changing the hookups on them. And so now they have to buy all brand new ones. So as their tanks that they have expire, instead of buying the same thing, now they're buying this new valve that's on them so that they can, at fires, they can use, because like Sanford has a truck that has air pumps right in the truck. So they run out of air, they can go and fill it. Our firefighters would have to go all the way back to the fire station to fill their tanks.
Or we have to be sharing with the town that has the included equipment that we have as well.
Well, none of them have compressors on the trucks, so it's when you go to, you know, like a big city that has a compressor, because we have a compressor in the building at the fire station, which will mean that they're probably gonna have to replace that too once they get it.
And are we gonna have one of those on the new fire truck?
Good question.
If not,
I got a feeling that it may be, I'm not sure. Bill Shields was our liaison to the fire department, so he went to all
Yeah, I
those
don't think
meetings.
I ever heard that discussed, so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It would be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and then possibly to be retrofitted, you know, depending if we don't have it. Okay, Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $18,276 to add to the capital improvement fund for the fire department toward the purchase of a new fire truck. So this is where we have our lovely discussion about what all this is about.
Right.
So in last year, we had 75, the year before we had the 50, the year
Right.
before we had the 50.
Right, so it started, when you were here, right? It started at 50,000 and went 50,000 the next year. Then we knew because the truck blew that we had to go right away, so we bumped it up to 75,000 last year. Now, we told the town when we got the approval to borrow the money for the fire truck that we wanted to continue to put money away so that we get caught like this again. But until we finish paying the loan off for the rear valve, we're only gonna put the difference between the 75,000 and the payment for the fire truck away each year. So that's where that $18,000 comes in. So that still leaves the budget flat because we're still putting $75,000 to a fire truck. 58 or 59, whatever it is, towards the payment, and then 18,000 into the fire truck fund for the next fire truck. Then next year, we have to pay the whole year for the rear valve. The following year, because we got the rear valve done at, I believe, $40,000 cheaper than what the town approved and what we borrowed, we paid off that $40,000 after a full year after we were sure that we were done with all expenses for the rear valve. So our fifth year of the loan on the rear valve will only be a half a year worth of payments instead of a full year. Well, actually it'll be less than that because it's about 50,000, 56,000 a year, and we've already paid $40,000 forward. So at that time, then it's our plan to go back to the 75,000 per year for the fire truck. And then that way the budget stays flat all the way across all those years.
Seems like a pretty darn reasonable plan to me.
And we just want to keep our word to the town. When they approved the fire truck, we told them we would still put money away, but we would not put, we wouldn't ask them for 75 plus the 60,000 for the fire truck payment. I mean, that would put our budget way up there if we've gone for $110,000 for a fire truck this year.
So, what you're saying, what you're planning on for the future,
Yeah.
financially,
Yeah.
I don't really agree with your plan, and what I mean by that is, when the reval's done, going back to the $75,000, fund for the fire truck.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, back a few years ago when I was selectman, I wanted to, when we started the capital improvement fund, for the new fire truck, I wanted to start the same for the roads. And the road commissioners at the time felt that, budgets being what they are and expenses, and that they didn't want to do that. What I would like to see from a financial point of view is keep doing just like you're doing with the $75,000, and you make the truck payment and put the difference into the fund.
Right.
When the truck's paid off, then go back to your 75 and take the money from the reval that you're saving, and where the roads have taken such a hit in the last 4 or 5 years, and take that money to put towards capital improvement for the roads. Because I think the priorities, I think the ones that are in most despair, I guess, if that's the right word or not, are the road budgets.
Right.
I mean, we've been putting them on the back burner and trying to hold the line for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think that we're doing well by the fire department, we're doing well by the school, that I personally would rather see, when the reval's done, to take that money and give the roads a little more money, and they should be able to get by, Ted, if we get a 5-year loan on that fire truck, with a little bit of money extra you're putting in it every year. In 5 years, you can have another $100,000.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the 75, it'll only be a few more years, and would have enough to be able to get them another truck.
Yeah.
And rather than dump all the money into the fire department, I'd really like to see some of it, you consider putting some of it towards roads.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, but and the other thing I've thought about too is we also should be putting some away for the next reval. We shouldn't wait 10 years and pay
You're right.
$240,000, so, yeah, so that's something to think about when that happens in a year and a half.
How we're going to,
Yeah, maybe split the difference, roads and reval and do what you said, but yeah, it's something to think about. I mean, that was just what we put forward to the people at the time, because,
sure.
they were saying, we're gonna need another one, and, we gotta do this, but, so that's what we got them to approve, how we got them to approve the fire truck, because this is what we're gonna do for the, for the time being. But yeah, I mean, if we do some work, like a section of town in 2 years from now, and then 2 years from there, another section, we don't come back out with a $240,000 bill in 10 years from now, so, who knows what it will be then, with costs going up, so, yeah, no, that's a good idea.
we'll talk about it in the future.
Well, certainly the capital account concept is a great thing to actually have some money in the bank because somebody thought ahead.
Yeah.
Instead of having to all of a sudden, have to take out a loan for this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, right now, we're really lucky because interest rates are so low, but, 5 years from now, the economy's back and the interest rates are up about 5 or 7%, we're buying a $500,000 fire truck. Right now, we're paying less than 2% on some of our
I mean,
loans.
we're better off than we were 5 years ago,
Yeah,
because we're not borrowing $500,000 twice a year to run the town government.
right,
So we turn that around.
yeah,
You guys have done a great job trying to hold the line, so we're still not borrowing money to live.
Right.
We're borrowing money now because the people want to borrow the money.
right, exactly.
Okay,
because
they
you have
have to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Not an emergency town meeting.
right, not settle in 1 year. And, so I think you guys have really been going in the right direction when it comes to finances. I just think that there's certain areas that have been taking a back seat, and I think we really have to take a harder look and leave everybody else that has been taken care of, shall we say, status quo, and we'll move on to other projects.
Yeah.
Still apply these, but
Yeah, well, I'm still a firm believer in asking the town when somebody comes forward with something like a special project for the roads, or when the school came forward for the roof and the generator and stuff like that. I'm all for asking the town for those things, but this year with that tax bill, I wasn't willing to put anything else forward because I knew there was nothing we could do to keep the tax rate down, even if we kept everybody right to the mark and keep it flat. With that $130,000 increase, there was no way we could keep the taxes from not going up. So that's why we asked everybody not to put any special projects in this year. Next year, I'd be more than happy to put any special projects forward to the town, let them decide whether they want to spend the money or not, knowing that it could put their tax rate up. But this year, I didn't want to put that out there and have the tax rate go from, we held it at $11 per thousand last year for the second year, and had $1 million in the undesignated fund. We were $6,000 less than $1 million. And, so we did well, we did not have to raise the taxes. This year, I knew we would have to raise them, so I didn't want to put other questions out there that would raise them even more, so. But yeah, no, definitely, I'm all for, asking the question of the town, if the department needs something, and let them decide whether they want to pay the money, because ultimately it's their decision, they have to pay the money, so.
And this is why the town of Shapley doesn't borrow money all the time.
Well, actually, they do, they borrow their full budget every year.
Oh, that's because of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
But I meant for, they have many funds over there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they've got the cash, yeah, they got the cash. But, you know, it's interesting, on all the years I've been here, you know, the 3 years of selectmen, everybody comes in, why don't we do it the way Shapley does? Why don't we do it the way Shapley
They
does?
used to.
Well, I went and asked Michelle, because as you know, we share her as a, you know, treasurer. And I said, how come Shapley's got so much more money than us? I said, we're pretty close in size, population, lake frontage, all that. And she says, because Shapley's school budget is $2 million a year, not $5 million a year. And that's the difference.
That's exactly the reason.
That's the difference. You know, we bring in the same amount of taxes, we still have the same tax base, but we spend $3 million more a year in tax, in school than Shapley does, so that's.
And they spend a considerable amount more money on their roads than anything does.
Well, that's because they've got $3 million more to use than we do.
Let's say, we're spending the same amount of money approximately.
Yeah,
It's just where they're spending it.
yeah.
So, given that the 800-pound gorilla in the room, how the hell do they do, how the heck do they do $3 million less than the $5 million that it cost us for our school?
Because they join the SAU, and
State subsidy.
then they join to the RSU.
And also, yeah, so we get, this year is 6% of our school budget is state funded.
Right.
So they obviously have a much higher percentage of that.
Right, because they're like Sanford, I mean, Sanford gets $7 million a year from the state.
Sanford's like 60-something%.
Yeah, and so are the RSUs, and it's because they.
I think San 57 is even higher.
It probably is, because it's made up of what, 7 or 9 communities?
Seven.
And they're all not very, you know, they don't have as many lakefronts as we do. I mean, it's a lot of small towns that don't have a big tax base. There's not a lot of business, there's not a lot of, you know, summer homes and things like that, so, yeah, so they get a lot more. So when the SAU came out in the 50s, or 60s, Shapley joined the SAU, Acton decided not to. Then when the RSU came out, they automatically went into the RSU because they were big enough that they were already, you know, they didn't have to form one, they were already big enough. So that's why they pay about $2.5 million a year for all of their education for all of their kids in their town. And because we have our own school and they pay tuition, that's why our budget is so much higher.
And then you turn into the fact that it costs us about $20,000 a student now. They're at Acton.
Yeah.
And if you look over at Shapley, even the expense of teaching, I believe is around 12, regardless of where the money's coming from. And that's quite a difference.
Well, the state rate is like $9,500 per student. That's what the state, if we went with that state rate before we asked that second
Right,
question.
and we're paying
And
about,
that's what we pay Sanford for our high school
and
kids.
we're paying about $20,000 a student in Acton.
Right, for the middle school.
So that's why,
Independence has its costs.
Yep, it does.
sure does.
You know,
Okay, so, the 18,276 here is the 75,000 that, you know, that we've historically, the last year or two, done for the fire truck. 56,724 is the coming year's loan payment, which is down here in the budget. Down here. And then the net is 18,276. So
Right.
essentially that's the difference between what we have been quote unquote throwing at the fire truck, at least starting last year, and what it actually costs this year. And then this second business here for this particular line item is the 56,724 coming year's loan payment, same number. And with this was from the fire department's capital improvement account, the 22113, which we saw in Article 19. And then 34,611 is coming from taxation. So that's what this little comment is, that is actually 34,611 is from taxation, and that's part of that net in Article 19. I don't think the $2,000 from APAT is actually anywhere in the budget that I saw, because it's a gross budget.
Yeah.
And we don't actually have an APAT account here.
Yep,
I didn't see it anywhere.
what it is,
that's in Jen's, by Jen's.
it's a raise for Jennifer.
Right, but it's not-
But it keeps
it's
everything
budget.
flat. Huh?
It's not on this budget book because it's not a budget account that we have, the 2,000.
Oh, right, yeah, this is the first year we've taken
So
any
it's
money
sort
from
of-
APAC.
That part of it is sort of invisible.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the first time we've taken money from APAC.
But yes, it is coming from APAC, but it is for duties that directly relate to APAC and benefit them. Alright. So, now we're getting into roads, Article 24. See if the town will vote to pay wages and equipment for repair and maintenance on public ways according to the following schedule. In the last couple of years, we've been doing this. And the year before, state rate plus 15%. And we had actually done this itemization prior to the couple of years we did state rate. So we
Yeah.
went back to it.
What happened was, there's a lot of equipment we use in Acton that the state doesn't use, so we had to go back to the individual pieces of equipment in order to come up with a rate. Or we were comparing apples and oranges, you know, if they had a tractor that they were using and the state doesn't use it, we were either paying them too much or too little based on that piece of equipment or the horsepower of that equipment. So we changed it to what we actually use and what our road commissioners actually have for equipment.
They've gone back and forth on that several times in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
You know, state rate and then changing and depends what's going on, you know.
So the only change is these two numbers. Actually, I could actually itemize them correctly. Two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, 26,000 pound gross vehicle weight. Those have gone up $4.50 per hour from last year, but that's the only change.
Yep, and that was at the request of the road commissioners. It doesn't increase their budget, it just gives them what they should get for that piece of equipment when they're running it. It's still gonna come out of the same budget amount.
Ted, maybe you can't answer this,
Maybe I can't.
and maybe it's really a question for the road commissioner or Michelle. And maybe we're not there yet, but I read through this whole warrant. And in here, I guess it's when we get to the stockpile. It's kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but.
Can
We can wait.
directly on the stockpile, why don't we wait, and, because we'll have the numbers in front of us.
I believe it is.
Okay. Public Works. Everything included. Stockpile. There we go. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $427,421 for Public Works to be expended as follows. And for the record, that is flat from last year, although we do have a couple of ratifications coming up for overdraft. And that's what this is talking about.
Right.
So feel free, Dennis.
I read here somewhere tonight about the rates for the stockpile at the loader down to the stockpile.
Mhm.
And somewhere it said, I should have marked it.
It's $2 per hour.
$2 per yard,
Yep,
yeah? Okay, yeah, it is right here.
yep.
Loaders get $2 a yard for material moved. So is that for putting it in and taking it out?
Presumably.
The people we buy it from deliver it,
Yeah,
and then they push it in, so I imagine they charge $2 per yard to put it in, right?
I think the $2 per yard is when they're putting it into the trucks.
So, yeah, because it's under the winter budget, so
Yeah.
that's loaded onto the sanders.
Right, it's loading it into the big trucks.
They're not
Well,
gonna-
just saying.
They probably just dump it, and they just drive back, back in there. and-
Yeah, I don't think it's $2 a yard when they're,
Putting it up.
when they're putting it up, I think it's per hour.
it goes per hour that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. The $2
It's just
per
a
yard
clear,
actually.
it's kind of clear wording, I guess.
Yeah, that goes by the yardage of how many, like, if they have like 62 yards that week that they used, then it'll be $2 a yard times, the 62. So
Right.
it goes on how much was used on all the trucks.
No, I appreciate that, Holly, but the word moved is, I don't remember seeing that.
Well, it was actually worse previously. It was not clear at all. Hold on a sec, let's go back there. I thought it was being, it was inefficient.
Loading a stockpile, $2 per cubic yard, to me, that's very
Yeah.
clear. I don't know why that word moved is in there.
That looks like it's added.
Well, but previously with verbiage, it was like, if I have a big tractor with a large bucket, I'll get more money to run it. But no, it's based on what you're actually moving, not how much you could move if you really, went at it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
That's
how
right,
much
yeah.
yardage you have.
And-
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we've got the capacity is above, okay, so much per hour per yard capacity. Okay, so let's see what we've got.
But that's two different things, Paul.
Right.
One is you get $2 a yard for
Okay.
loading the trucks, and the other one is getting X amount of dollars for using the loader, which has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
stockpile,
Yeah,
per se.
that $2
Well,
per
that
cubic
number
yard
has-
is when you load the trucks.
That's been the same the last couple of years.
But I just don't understand the moved.
I honestly think that the one I have at home doesn't say moved. It's almost like that's been added on because that's.
I don't think I've seen it
I
before.
don't think.
Where do you
it
see-
is
where do you
moved
see
at
it
the
on-
end of
Well,
it.
it's
Has that been added? 'Cause-
it's been there for
Loading a
years.
stockpile,
Yeah.
yeah, with
On
it.
town floor.
Yeah, it's been 2 years, 3 years?
3 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I never really noticed that either.
Well, I certainly know that in editing the early copies of the warrant, it's definitely gone all around the barn in terms of, how it's phrased.
Well,
But we ultimately end up with what we've had the last 3 years. And I believe this is modeled on, even earlier.
I don't believe so, Paul. And I guess my question is, and it isn't gonna affect the total budget, it isn't gonna affect what the road commissioner's, bottom line, what raises taxes.
Well, I can show you the
No, it
earlier.
was a $2 a yard before. It's been,
It used to be $1 a yard,
Yeah, it was-
and we changed it, I forget how many years ago,
Yeah.
but.
I can go back to 2008 and 2009.
But, I guess
Okay, so that was
my
the state
point
rate.
is, the way this is worded,
Yeah,
yes, it was $1.15, yeah, so it's fine.
per yard.
Per yard.
Right,
Per yard, yep, $1.15 per yard.
But
And
what
now
did that
it's-
mean, I guess is my point.
loading that stockpile,
Yeah.
It's implied,
right. This is what you're doing, you're loading it to stockpile.
but how does that, okay, but how is this better than saying per yard moved, which I think is more clear,
Well, I don't think it is,
no?
because I could take that as, if I was a road commissioner, for
Yeah.
example, down there putting 5,000 yards of material into the building,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna put it in with my loader,
Yeah,
because they can only dump, so whatever, and you gotta push it up or something, that I'm gonna push that up there for $2 a yard, okay? And then I'm gonna take my other loader to move the salt in to mix with it at whatever amount per hour. It just, so you got $4 a yard in that material,
moving it back and forth.
just moving it back and
Well,
forth.
how does this prevent that?
well, the thing, don't mean to interrupt, but I know before, just for giggles, Scott and I, when they've been down there moving the material, like putting it up, we've done the math on that. And he would always, even doing the math and stuff, he, as a road commissioner, would go the cheaper route anyways, that's just.
No, I'm not saying that they aren't, Holly,
No, but I'm saying
I'm-
they would probably go the cheapest route it is.
Yeah. but to me, it's very
Yeah, that
clear.
would make sense. If you're pulling in with a truck, what are the standards hold, 10 yards?
7 yards.
7 yards. So if you're pulling in with a truck and you charge by the hour for that loader to put 7 yards on, when it only takes them maybe 5 minutes, and so that's $14 you're paying for 5 minutes as opposed to, what, $50 an hour or something like that for a loader?
Right.
So then you'd have to calculate how many hours.
I mean,
So
I
it makes
agree
sense to
with
do it
it,
that way.
I would agree with the rate, and they've always charged by the hour, as far as I know, to put the material up with their
I
equipment.
believe so, that's.
But this doesn't say that.
Yeah.
It says moved, and you're moving it twice, but you're really only paying by the yard once. So to me, it's,
Because when they unload, they're there for several hours, right? The trucks keep coming, they keep
Yeah,
pushing
it's
it.
a big.
So that's when you charge by the hour, that's when you save money.
And that's, I mean, they are moving, it's got, I mean, they're just like,
but in here, it's not saying that though, Ted.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that, it says moved. I just don't like that word moved.
I know that when they're putting it up, it's crazy.
Oh, you don't wanna get in the way.
No.
It's like calling it in concrete when they're building a bridge or something.
Yeah.
It's, you
And
stay
you want
there.
to have supper ready when he comes home too.
It's so much faster now, they're using these trucks they're using, and I did it back 40 years ago, we're using 3 to 4 yard trucks, so,
You're talking about the tractor trailer dumps?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I
using
think it's actually really
3 to 4
efficient.
yard trucks.
I think it's pretty efficient, actually, the way they do it.
So these numbers all prove to the budget book, the 10510 here up on top, the 76,530, the 84,470, after that.
And they didn't put in for the 1.7% raise on there, they kept them all flat.
76,530, excuse me. Excuse me. All right, so the 90 is actually part of the next one. And you'll see Article 26 there. That's surfacing. There's another one of those as well.
Yeah, each step.
And the 84,470 road maintenance, District 2. And then the stockpile, 1,530 department. And then the total 427, 421, and road servicing is 180 coming up. 427, 421, and that is flat.
Yep.
And we got one going on Sand Page Road, and we'll gauge off next year. So this one, Article 26, states the town will vote to raise $111,984 and appropriate $180,000 for road surfacing. The remaining balance is to come from road capital improvement funds. Funds to be expended as follows: $90,000 for District 1, $90,000 for District 2. And those go into Department from 10514 and 10524.
Can we look at that again?
Sure.
Does it mention the Europe funds?
I was gonna say that's a difference as you.
Well, that's the one, the difference between the 180 and the 111,
Yeah.
but it never has.
No, I think we have the Europe funds in that one that we carry forward every year. I think that's where it is. Yeah, what happened was, they were using the Europe funds the way they were supposed to, which comes out to what, 68,000, I think, a year, and they were splitting it. But when it came September and we had to file, it was hard to backtrack on what it was actually used for, which project and things like that. So by doing this, this is what Euro funds are supposed to be used for. That money goes directly to resurfacing, and then we added the difference to it so that they each got 90,000. So we get 64,000 of that 180,000 comes from the state.
And you've already got that. Yeah, so you already know what you got for money instead of doing it and then seeing what you get.
Right, yeah, because it comes in, well, actually it comes monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they send a check every month. And I haven't seen anything in Augusta that they're changing that yet, so probably haven't figured out that one yet. It's one of these, been done forever and it hasn't come to the top yet.
Okay, transfer station, Article 27, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $272,288 for the transfer station public works. And that is also a 0% change.
Right.
This one I have an issue with, Paul.
Okay.
Not like to death, but we touched a bit on it, Ted, at our last workshop we had downstairs.
Go for it.
And I talked to Bill a little bit about it today, and, I feel that, I mean, we get so many, kudos about what's going on at the transfer station.
Yeah.
The way it's operated, the personality of the help, how they accommodate people, especially our senior citizens. And, as a taxpayer, I'm talking here now as a taxpayer, I feel guilty that we are paying a lot of money to a lot of people in this town. And some of them I believe are overpaid, and some of them I don't. But one thing that's definitely is that the people at the transfer station are underpaid. Considerable, and I understand what your comments were about the 1.7% and things like that. But for somebody up there that's making $10 an hour, when they get their 1.7% raise, it comes to 17 cents, which is $3.40 a week. And when you have people that making $50,000 a year that are getting a 3% or a 4% raise, and that comes up to a couple $1,000s a year, I really think that that's an injustice.
I have to agree with you, but you have to think of the employees that we have up there. And what else might be going on in their lives where they may not be able to accept a $50,000 salary, where they would lose other things, and that's why.
Well, I'm not saying we're gonna pay them $50,000.
No, what I'm saying is they're not able to take more than what we're paying them, and we've offered raises, but if you're on social security, you're only allowed to make so much. Yeah, and that's what's going on up there, you know, because we tried to give them more money. I mean, if you remember, I mentioned there was one guy who had a raise in 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, we figured out that he could get a raise, but he was worried about going over and losing his social security, his Medicaid, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the difference, is because of the age of the employees that they don't need to make more money. And, you know, Bob even said it.
Well, they can't make more money.
They can't. Yeah, I mean, everybody would like to have more money, but they can't, because you give them $2, $3 an hour raise, and then that takes away their social security, because they have to pay back to social security.
Oh, they'll lose
Medicaid.
double on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, if we had, you know, a lot of young guys with families working up there, it'd be a completely different story. We'd have to pay a lot more, but those guys enjoy the part-time job, and it works for their benefit, so that's why.
Well, I'll tell you honestly,
If you can get any of them to take
I
a
will
raise.
drop the issue.
Okay, if you can get any of them to take a raise, I'd be the first one to sign the check, because, you know, they definitely deserve it.
I'm glad you explained it that way.
Yeah, it's just circumstances for those folks that are up there, you know? I mean, even Bob mentioned himself that we've got him, instead of on the town medical plan, we've got him on a AARP co-plan.
Right.
And it saves us a lot of money, and it works out better for him than the town plan does, because he's got Medicaid, then this matches and pays everything else. So, I mean, we're very lucky to have healthy individuals up there that don't want to make a lot of money, they just like their job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess your explanation tonight that,
I didn't
a lot of people,
I didn't want to go there, but I guess I had to.
well, there's been a lot of people around town that have spoken to me about it.
Yeah.
How they don't feel it's right.
Yeah.
And your explanation tonight makes it very clear,
Yeah.
and I think it eases a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
And it'll probably create less animosity towards some of the individuals that are making pretty good week's pay.
Yeah.
And a little more understanding of why, why we're paying what we are up there.
And that's why none of them take medical insurance.
I think you did a good job explaining it, Ted, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Would you nudge that to the left slightly again?
Right, keep moving it, does it test it?
Well, the chord is none too long, so there's probably stress there, and it sort of encourages it to move. So this line item here is actually the one that we were talking about for Article 6, the changing the budget for today. But this 272288 is what's in the budget book. 2.8.
2.8.
And so the total for Public Works, which is Articles 24 through 27, is flat. Absolutely flat. 28. However, there is a qualification to that absoluteness. When we get to Article, here's the ratification. Right there, Article 38. We'll be ratifying some overages in plowing and sand stockpile. Okay, Recreation Department operation, Article 28. And that is, the gross budget is flat.
I still have issues with the rec. The amount of money we're paying them. Again, I talked about it before, about the services that the kids are getting. And I'm not criticizing the people that are running the rec. It's just the way things are. And my granddaughter is in kindergarten, she signed up for T-ball, and she's in Shapley. Her practices, her games, and she got a Shapley coach, and she's not even doing anything active, even though they signed up with the active rank.
Yeah, code was over there too.
And it just, there's something amiss there, and I'm not saying they should be paying. You know, when the rec department started, I was a huge advocate, and I would break, I didn't get it going. And, I don't know what the problem is, but I just, if most of the stuff is gonna be going on over at Chaplin, why are we paying our rec this kind of money?
Well, I know on last week's payroll, I signed a check for, can't remember if it was Sanford or Shapley, for baseball. It was $2,300 or $2,500. So the money we're giving them is coming out and going to the other towns. I think what's happened with our rec department is they don't have enough volunteers, parents that are getting involved, so they can't pull the teams together. And so they're joining in with Shapley. So then the money that they would use for that team here in Acton to buy, t-shirts and, equipment, stuff like that, we're actually passing it on to Shapley so that they'll take our kids. So the money is still going for the kids. It's just not going to the kids here in Acton. It's going for those kids to go to Shapley or for soccer to go to Sanford and things like that. So the money does still go for the kids. It's just that it's not happening here in town as much as it used to. And, parents are busy and, a lot of people, you go through spurts with things like this. I've seen over the years being in education. You'll have a group of parents that all gun ho, they get involved, like the people that bought the field and built the field, right? I mean, they had an incredible committee, they were there all the time, they were fundraising all the time, and then you get a group that doesn't have the time or the ability to get involved, so then you lose, and it gets down to 3 or 4 people doing all the work. If you've ever been in a volunteer organization to get a high position, you're doing all the work, and there's a lot of other people that just don't get involved. So I think the issue right now is not that they're not trying, because the people that are involved, and they have meetings every month, are really trying hard. They just can't get enough support from other people in town. Pretty much like with us, with all these committees we have that we can't fill. There's not a lot of people that have the time or are willing to come out and get involved in those things, and that's what's happening with the rec right now.
It's just frustrating, I mean, when they played soccer, my grandchildren, they spent most of the time moving around last fall. The practices, the games.
Yeah.
I thought
And that
it
was-
was aligned with Shapley. I thought that the rec here was with Shapley, because when Cody was even playing, we sponsored his team, and it was over in Shapley. They would play a lot. And the kids, if I remember correctly, the kids are from Acton and from Shapley.
Well, now I think the Shapley has joined, kind of like SAT 57, the different towns that had groups.
Yeah.
And over in Arundel, they got beautiful fields, and they can have multiple games over there. And so I think that's why, but it's still,
So they're using that facility.
it's hard for people to do that.
The other thing is the population changes too, so your age groups change. Like, I know right now, if you look at the school, you guys probably know better than me from the finance meetings, but their numbers are changing constantly. I mean, last year, we thought we were gonna go to one kindergarten teacher, and all of a sudden we ended up with 25 kids. They came out of the woodwork all at the last
Yeah.
minute, you know?
Yeah.
So we had to go to 2 teachers. But then if you look at the grades in between, we're down to 1 teacher in what, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. So the numbers of kids to play are down too, so that, you know, if you've only got 10 kids that are in 3rd grade, you know. we
Trying to get
make-
12 out of that.
Yeah, or, you know, make 2 teams of 5, they play against each other, you know. So it works better for the rec to go and join up with Shapley or another town in order to have enough kids play, so. I mean, you know, the numbers go up and down, the population goes up and down, teachers, you know, the classroom size goes up and down, I think. So it might not be only just that the parents don't have the time, it might not be that there's enough parents because there aren't enough kids, so.
No, I mean, I take my.
And I do know the money's being, is going with the kids,
He's
so.
been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been doing this for a long time.
He's probably getting burnt out.
Who's that?
Ken Joy,
Oh, yeah.
He's been
he's a
doing-
great guy, great guy. I don't know, it's just,
Does he still have kids that are of that age to be in those schools?
I don't think so.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, if you-
I don't know if they have many children, so I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
maybe, maybe.
Could
But-
be.
You know, when they get into the high school level, then you're going to Chevrolet and South Portland.
No, I appreciate that, but when they're 5 years old though, to go 30 miles for practice or a game every week is,
yeah, something,
Watch
that's the
you
way it
get
is.
slammed by Chevrolet.
but
So this number, the appropriation is the same as last year, I believe that's held steady. No, actually, no.
going down a little bit, I think.
12,960, 12,4,
Yeah, they actually asked for less this year than last year.
Yeah.
13,8 was 2010, and that was 12,960, 12,4, 12,4. So same as last year, except the amount to raise is a little higher because they have less money coming in. So it's up, so their proceeds are down by 600, so that goes to taxation. And that goes proof to the,
Same thing, people who go out and do the fundraising.
yep.
And
Yeah, they used to have.
you and Holly have convinced me to drop that subject, so.
Well, we're 2 for 2, Holly.
Yeah.
I get soft.
So Article 29, Conservation Committee, and that has been pretty much the same.
Where is that, Ted?
What?
The Conservation Committee?
You haven't seen them on TV? They meet every
The
month.
2,
There's 5 of them, but they don't all show up.
it's like the Warrant and Finance Committee?
Kind of like, yeah,
Okay.
kind of like,
All right.
yeah.
Hard to imagine people not showing up, huh? Article 29. Or hard to imagine people not wanting to, do thankless jobs for a long time.
I'm looking at Virginia thinking that.
Ted's turned to this newspapers.
We've all worn that hat at one
Yeah,
time or
we love
another.
for punishment.
Okay, so there's that. Basically saying, I can't tell you what the Conservation Committee does.
They're involved with all the graveyards in town. Recently, they've been working on discovering how many veterans are in our graveyards.
So it's sort of a combination of this and the cemeteries article.
Yeah,
So does it
yeah,
actually
the
go to the
cemetery
Conservation
article
Committee
is,
though?
the cemetery article is basically for the flags for Memorial Day, where they go around and put flags on all the veterans and everything else. And the Conservation Committee, they do something like the history, the Acton Chaplain Historical Society and stuff like that. They, collect facts and things like that.
But these folks are the labor for the parts of the cemetery.
Yes. They go up with their kids and the 4-H and they put the flags on the memorial.
And that's the gist of it, the people that are on the Conservation Committee, not all of them, but are the same people that run the 4-H. And historically, the 4-H kids have done the flags for, I don't know, 50 years, I mean.
Is that Hannah?
Now it's Hannah, and I don't know who else is a 4-H leader.
Mary Ellen used to be in
Yeah.
They used to have 3.
Mary was in the 4-H, but I don't think she was on the conservation.
No, there used to be 3 4-H's in town. Dorothy Downs had one, Olive had one, then for a while, Joyce Winchell had one. Hers was a lot more related towards horses and things like that. And so we used to divide the money up with 3 groups for the 4-H.
Yeah.
And then they petered out, and for some reason I was thinking Anna's the only one now.
Yeah, yeah, she is.
So this has kind of jumped around according to changing needs. 1150, 1650, 1500, last year was, in 2011 was the terrible.
A lot of that was stone repair.
1500 to 250. What, for the higher numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they go into the cemetery, fix the stones.
You know, knock them over, or?
Well, people that
Yeah.
ran them over.
Well, a lot of them are out in the middle of nowhere, and they go out and trim the trees and trees have fallen on them. When I bought my land, this one of my land, when I bought my land, everything had caved in on it, trees and fence and everything else, and didn't even know it was there when I bought the land until I cleaned up the area.
And you go out in the woods in the wintertime, and you get a logger out there with 2.5 feet of snow. They don't even know the cemetery's there.
Yeah.
So this year is 250. And that's actually going down 83% from the 1500 last year. So I'll jump back, I wanted to include that as part of this, basically the same thought pattern. Now we jump to county taxes, which are coming up 42.5%. Because we're going for 18 months from 12 because of the fiscal year change for the county. And Article 30.
Yep, and we have no choice, state law says you have to pay it.
A few years ago, when they sent us the bill, somebody said, you gotta pay this county tax. I said, why? Well, you gotta pay it, and they wanted to pay it before we started getting our taxes in. Okay, and me being me, there was no way. And, I said, what are they gonna do if you don't pay it? What do they do with it? Nobody ever gave me an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. They have to take it in court, I guess.
I know you gotta pay it, but, when they ask you, I guess they have, since you've been in office, asking you to pay early and this and that, so that they need some money and,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
now, nobody's giving us money early.
No, we pay them right on time every year.
No, that's not to actually have to wonder what will happen when you don't. You know?
But I still wouldn't pay, that's why, paying for the last minute to keep the money in our bank as long as you can.
Yeah.
And I think it's the end of October or something like that, you gotta pay them by.
Right.
So at least you can have a few $1 million in the bank for a couple of
It
days.
would be nice if we could play with that money instead of.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't want to pay, well, the other thing too is we don't get our first tax bill until October 15th.
Right.
So if we're paying them before that, we're paying them with the money from last year's budget, which is gonna put us down into a cash flow problem. So you definitely wanna wait until we get some tax money coming in before
We
we
get
pay
you
it.
a few years ago,
Yeah.
no way.
So this year, we gotta pay them our regular one-year tax bill in October, and then the additional tax bill due in December. But we get all of our tax money in October, so it doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
But we'll keep that, $130 grand in our account until December, until
As
the
long as
last
you
day.
can.
Yeah, and we get the interest on it. We're not getting much interest, not even 1%.
Well, we get loans for 2, I mean.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Planning and development, and that's flat as well, 538.
That's the town forester and the forester.
Yep, forestry. 538 for planning and development to be expended as forester's stipend. And that is pretty much the name of that This one, I think, changes form most often, but it says the same thing.
He does a good job.
I question the wording. For stipend. When you get a stipend, you get a stipend for a certain amount. And you're responsible for the tax and stuff like that. Not the employer that's giving the stipend. What do you think about that, Ted?
Well, we still have to take the taxes out. When I got my $250 a year from the school,
You still took
huh?
you still took out taxes out of it?
Yeah, you have to,
Sends it,
yeah. And selectmen are paid as a stipend, and they still take taxes out. You know, the town nurse and, or help, she's a health director, right?
oh yeah, she's $100.
Yeah, we have to take taxes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the employee, or whatever you want to call them, is responsible for this stuff and the town takes it out, where does obviously the state can't be double dipping. Can't imagine if they would.
Yeah, so the state doesn't
So
try
what
to, yeah.
ultimately happens?
So what we're doing is, we're not giving them the 500 and then taking the taxes out.
Right.
We're paying the 500 plus whatever the taxes would have been on 500 and adding that on to the
Which is,
500.
that's the
No.
38, we're giving them 5.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah, so 38, that's for FICA and all that stuff, yeah.
Just so happens it comes out exactly 38.
Yeah, and so they still end up with their 500.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why we're doing that, school only gave me $250 less taxes, so I gave you $250.
They had a lower budget.
You should have been paying attention.
Just an observation.
All right. I don't necessarily plan on really talking about this in depth because I think I want to have more of us here at the time to do it. But, Ted, there's a couple of things that will need to be fixed.
Okay.
Come down here. So there are two items that are actually increased on the warrant from the budget that are higher than in the budget book. So the total agrees with the budget book. But the total does not agree with the sum of all the items on the warrant article. And the two items are parent awareness and counseling service.
Okay, well, they were all supposed to stay flat,
Yeah, I know.
so.
But they're listed as, okay, so we see parent awareness here at 500,
And what were they last year?
and they were 250 last year.
Okay,
So,
so,
right, where the heck is parent awareness? They were here, I think it might have been called something different.
parent awareness up there, 250, got the Southern Maine Agency.
Yeah, there it is, so it's
Third one down.
250, and then the other one is counseling services.
Okay.
So counseling service over here is 500, and over here is 1,000.
Okay.
And so they're increased on a detail item, but they're not increased in the budget book.
Right, which is supposed to be flat.
Which is just weird, so I don't know where those numbers came from.
Okay.
I suppose if I went back to the numbers, I might be able to find them, but, the bottom line is it's out of proof. So the total for the 22 organizations in this article is 66,012, which is higher than what this total says up here.
Mhm.
The total for the same 22 organizations in the budget book is 65,262, and the total for the article is thus 750 out of proof for detail. So those, the two choices are to increase the total in this article or decrease those two lines.
No, we
And
increased those two lines, because we're keeping everybody flat, except for the
Yeah.
ones that asked for less money. There was,
Yeah.
which surprised me, there was a couple that asked for less money this year than last year.
I have a parent awareness one right here, and it looks like they asked for 250.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just a typo.
Yeah.
It's-
Could you send that to Michelle so that she can fix it for
I
us?
can do that.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as I assumed that that's what you would want to do, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, I just wanted to sort of hit you with it and say, what do you want to do?
Are we down on donations this year?
Well, depends on what you're thinking about. If you're looking at just this one article,
Without Welsh Lake, yeah.
Yeah, it's minus 1.4. If you include Balch Lake, the donations are up 6.2.
Right. Well, what we're gonna do with Balch Lake is, because it's brand new, you know, we wanted them to come in, they've got quite a presentation on the milfoil that's in their lake.
So they're actually going to present at town meeting?
Well, that's what Bill recommended to them.
I certainly would think that would be a good idea.
And so whether they fall through or not, I don't know. They've come in the last 2 years in September and asked for money. So we told them if they got it to us in January, we put it on.
Right.
So they finally got it to us in January. And there are quite a few active residents on that lake. And they are working really hard to fix it, so we figured we'd let the town know. But the rest of the organizations that have come in started at $1,000 the first year. So that's, rather than us put it to 1,000, we figured we'd let the town decide what they want to do. But
So
our
this is-
recommendation will probably be
Can
1,000.
you go back to, what did you say with counseling services? Did you say 500? Was it-
Counseling services was 250 last year, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's-
Oh, 500 last year.
So I have theirs right here, and they are requesting 1,000.
Yeah, but we're only giving them 500 because we kept it very flat.
But the request on
Okay,
drug awareness was only 250.
and if we go to counseling services down here though. It should be
Well,
500.
no, I don't think you're right, Paul. Go back up to that number, would you?
Yep.
That's where you was.
1 second. Let me just find the darn thing.
No, no.
I love all these abbreviations.
The one that surprises me is the Acton Shelter.
CSI,
Acton
Council
Food
Services.
Pantry
Yeah,
came and asked for money
that's-
last year for the first time,
Yeah.
and we gave it to them. And then this year they came in and asked for $500 less than last year.
No.
I was shocked.
I noticed that too when I was going through here.
So what are you looking for, Dennis?
What I'm looking for, and we changed this, you guys changed this a few years ago, Ted.
Mhm.
The $1,000 that we're talking about, and the $500 one for parent awareness,
Mhm.
and the $1,000 one for, counseling services,
Mhm.
those numbers are correct that are there.
Mhm.
Because what you guys decided a few years ago was to put down what was requested, and then the second line is what you guys recommend.
Oh, you're right.
So, the requests are there, what they
Right.
requested,
Right,
And
but
your
this year we decided not to even have them come in and give their
Right.
spiel and do the request. We just
Right.
decided to flatline it, so you're right, we've got the 2 lines there.
So would you move, so you'd move the ones that the selectmen recommend presumably, because it's your
Being
warrant
mailed.
article
Right,
on the right, and these would truly reflect what they're looking for.
right.
It certainly would be more equitable.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the whole, because I know a couple of years ago, there was some question about just sort of the, not very even-handedness of just sort of saying, no, no, we're not even gonna put it before the people, you're not gonna get that.
Yeah,
Um,
well, we put them all before the people,
But Dennis makes a good point, that, maybe this article this year at this moment is not being used for what it was intended.
right, and I don't think it is, because we set flat, and so we didn't do the recommended, so we'll have to put those other numbers all the way down the recommended column, which is a flat line for everybody, or the lesser. Are we showing any up there that are less than last year?
well, no, because what you're doing here, Ted,
Yeah.
is you're just showing, but not on the warrant article.
Yeah, but the food pantry, I'm pretty sure,
Is that down to
asked
30?
for less.
They were 3,000 last
Yeah,
year,
I
is it 2,500 this year on the requested?
Okay,
Yeah,
so they're 3,000 last year, and they asked for 2,500 this year.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Okay.
All right, that's what it is.
But it, yeah,
Yeah. So
And that
we
is
need
what
your
you
numbers.
requested.
yeah, so we're gonna do the recommended. And with the recommended, they can't change anyways, because it can't go up, right?
That's right.
Okay, all right, so
I'd like
yeah,
to
we'll
see
do
two
it.
articles.
We'll put it up, this is what they requested, this is what we recommend, and then we'll just tell them it's flat from last year.
When the school did their articles, they did it to see what sum,
Yeah,
and then the town meeting has the option of increasing if they see fit.
yeah,
And the way these articles are written is, that's a max. You go down, but not up.
right.
I'm just curious, when we decide this, do we, because in all of most people that have put in requests, they tell us, which is very interesting, how many of our residents they've served,
Yep.
and then they give us a price.
Yeah.
So like counseling services, I mean,
Yeah, we get a huge bang for our buck on
Yeah,
our 65,000 or
223,000,
68,000,
yeah.
whatever. You know, cleaner lakes, you know, social services to our populace.
yeah,
It's amazing. If those agencies were not there to, you know,
Yeah.
to help our
absolutely.
our
Because-
folks and help with our lakes and any other things that are relevant here, certainly.
I mean, if, I'm just, you know, if they're asking
That
for
would make sense.
$1,000 and they have served 92 of our residents, and the cost would be 223,000. I mean, that's quite the
It's
deal.
mind-boggling.
Yeah, and a lot of this money they give to the towns is just seed money.
They need
It's over and above
matching
what they get
funds
paid
in
for
order to
the
get other grants.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's like
counseling-
full price?
Yeah,
And then the federal too,
yeah.
kick in.
Like counseling service, they have a sliding scale. If you can afford counseling, you pay the fee yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't, because you're only working part-time, then they slide the fee down. The difference is made up by the state and federal funds that they
Yeah,
get, you know.
well, even like with your health insurance, you'll see the price.
Yeah.
And then you see what your health insurance
where it
will get.
costs, yeah, yeah.
Exactly, and that can be huge.
But
But
they
we're
need
still
to,
getting good bang for
they need to
our
show
buck.
support from the towns that they serve.
Yeah.
And that's what
Right,
it's
it's all seed money.
Yeah.
But the other problem is the county didn't give funding to any charities this year. And they're charging us $130,000, where they used to fund all these charities too, so they wouldn't come to the towns and ask for as much. You know, they might come and ask us for $500, and they get $5,000 from the county. Well, the county is not funding any charities at all anymore, so that's why they're coming to us. So I expected
Yeah.
to see a lot of new faces, but I think what's happened is because funding has dropped so much, a lot of these places have just closed their doors, so you just can't afford to run them.
Probably.
I know
But
the
it
town of
is
Sanford
interesting.
2 years ago was talking about phasing out all of it.
Yeah.
Within 2
And I
years,
can
they
imagine
phased
how
out.
much
You know,
they serve in the town of Sanford, and they're
They're
like,
gonna cut it in half one year when Mark Green was there, and then this next year they're gonna do it completely.
So we're gonna see that retooled next time around. On version 1.2 of the warrant. And the donation to Balls Lake Improvement Association, it's probably worth, since it's just one organization in this article, and it's new, just sort of go over.
We've asked them to come and meet with you guys too.
That's gonna be a separate.
Yeah, it was offered to me to have, I think we were talking about at the library, some side issues came up, and this being new, it was offered to me to have them come. My thought was to figure out what the overall will of the group was, and to figure out whether we, and I'm glad that they weren't here tonight, because we've only got 3 of us and no audience. Except of course on cable. So what we have here is the request from Balch Lake Association, Board of Selectmen, January 2, 2013. Subject, annual appeal for financial support for Balch Lake invasive species control. Dear Selectmen, again this year the Balch Lake Improvement Association appreciates your consideration in helping to control the spread of the invasive plant species called variable milfoil. As you know, this plant was discovered in Balch Lake in 2001. Efforts to control the spread of this plant have been in place since that time. The efforts to control have advanced in terms of volunteer and paid member participation. The methods advancing from hand pulling the plant by divers, still done today, being complemented by our diver-assisted suction harvester boat. They love their acronyms too.
You should see the boat.
Which has been in full seasonal use for the past 2 years. As you also may know, the state of New Hampshire allows the controlled use of herbicides, which we have been using since 2004. The approval process with that state is very controlled and takes several months and man-weeks of effort to accomplish. Approximately 20 to 26 milfoil-infested acres are treated annually in the New Hampshire part of the lake. This is also very important to the state of Maine, as the water flows from the New Hampshire end of the lake into and through the main body of water and out of the dam on Acton Ridge Road. The volume of milfoil plants and fragments, which propagate easily, are to some degree controlled coming into Maine. An in-place boat inspection program at the Balch Lake Marina has been in place for several years. The Balch Lake milfoil efforts are and will be ongoing for years to come. This effort is viewed as one of the long-term management and control, not short-term eradication. In a way, sort of like snow removal. We know it is coming, we can't stop it, but we can manage it to the best of our ability. We ask that you consider allocating $5,000 annually to aid in the control of this invasive weed. I will be available to meet with you or your finance committee anytime after February 5th, 2013, and please feel free to contact me anytime using the information below. Sincerely, Don Pierce, President, BLINP.
Flip.
Yes, we love that. Balch Lake Improvement Association.
I would give a suggestion when it comes to that whole deal. Rather than bog downtown meeting, or a Warrant and Finance Committee meeting, I would think that the Balch Lake Association might want to get in touch with APAT and do a presentation that Mike could put on the TV prior to town meeting and
Not everybody has cable.
advertise it, and they could put it on the website.
That would be good.
And
All the stuff that's on the cable TV is also on the web.
Is it?
Yeah. You can get all the videos that are on cable on the web.
because myself personally, I mean, I agree with the problem, and I agree we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just not really that interested in spending an hour on that. That would be what I'd like to see anyway.
Makes good sense. Depends on how long the actual presentation is, too. And what else? Well, and we've got Article 41 that's gonna be taking a lot of time, probably, and probably not Article 6.
Which 41?
Zone.
Oh,
Article 41 zoning ordinance amendment for stormwater standards. So anyway, those donations, if we go with, and we still have to play games with the recommended, et cetera, but roughly 6% increase from last year. But again, you know,
but that's including Balch Lake, right?
Balch Lake, yes. It goes down slightly if you don't include it. But it does, if you read through these materials, and, you know, they're pretty compelling, then we're getting a lot of bang for our buck. And especially when the county is no longer doing any of this.
Yeah, my
It's
concern
shameful.
with it was the amount. If you look at all the new ones we've done over the last couple of years, they all came in with an initial amount of $1,000.
Yeah.
And so that's what we approved for all those other groups, you know, Awesome and all these others that came in. So my concern was with the amount that they came in and asked for, that I thought should be put up as a separate.
Do you have a feel for, I mean, you're gonna treat this article similar to the full-blown 22 entity article?
Our
In
recommendation
that,
as far
here's what
as,
they're asking, and here's a recommendation. I mean, it would
Yeah.
be- I think it would make sense in
Yeah.
terms of the fact that you're only putting it as a separate article
Right.
because it's new.
Right.
But if, okay, this is what they want, here's what the selectmen recommend, and of course, the town body can do what it wants.
yeah.
So do you wanna, being just after 9 o'clock, I mean, do you wanna keep going, or?
How many we got left?
Well, we've got not much, the numeric ones are pretty much done.
Yeah, these are just
Yeah,
housekeeping.
most of the rest of these are
Housekeeping.
housekeeping, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's truck on down. Okay, see if the town, Article 35, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $5,500 for dams, Department 10950, be expended as follows. Dam capital improvement fund, 5,000, Balch Lake, dam operator stipend, 500.
Yeah, we left that in because last year, after they voted to do the charity thing for the dams with the Sanford Shapley group, and I tried to get the town to say, well, okay, if you're gonna prove it here, we don't need to do this, because we started this because we didn't want to pay into that group. And everybody wanted this anyway, so we left the article in if they want to do it. It's a capital improvement fund, stays around town until the dam goes, so.
So do we have about like 15 grand in there at this point, because we haven't used it? I think we've only had it since 2011.
Right. Is that the first year? Yeah. Yeah, so there should be 15 grand in there, yes. So
So
this would make it 20.
in 2011, it was raised and appropriate to create the dam capital improvement.
All right, so 2011 would be 5, and 2012 is 10, so there'll be 15 at the end of this year.
So what I found interesting is that when it was created, it was for the future maintenance of the Emery Mills and Square Pond dams. But I don't know if there's actually any designation for that, because it's called dams.
Right.
Do we know that it's for, and are we legally bound by how it was created on town floor?
Well, we can't
Emery
actually,
Mills and Square Pond dams?
we can't actually spend any of it unless we go back to the town.
Well, sure, but are we restricted to how it was phrased in the article when it was created? I would think we are.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that says that.
Didn't the year before that fall, didn't we,
We did all kinds of stuff.
we gave money to Square Pond to repair their dam?
Yep.
Do
Yes.
some work on the dam.
Emery, Article 28.
It was like, yeah,
$3 grand, the
Yeah.
first year share of the, okay, so this one was an agreement for maintenance, and it then disappeared after that.
Yeah, that's because
One
they had
time.
work to do and they wanted us to help pay for the work.
Okay, and then there was a repair of the Square Pond Dam in Article 30, which is a totally different thing.
Right. So I think those are the only two dams.
Retroactive reimbursement.
I think those are the only two dams that we would have to repair, right?
it was a,
What's that?
Scott's got a dam on his roof that he's always cleaning up. There's like beavers that are very persistent.
But I lumped all these together in here because they all had to do with dams of one kind or another.
yeah, there was one,
There's some
Yeah,
overlap.
we're never gonna put 5,000 away on beaver dams.
yeah, there was one that we reimbursed Square Pond Association for the work they had done,
Yeah.
and they needed more money to finish it. And we gave them another $3,000, whatever, to finish it, and that's, but that was supposed to have been a one-shot deal.
Right.
But he's always coming home with damn beavers.
Those beaver dams.
Yeah.
I didn't swear. Okay. So in budget book, to kind of carry on this thought about, where the heck are we? Yeah, the future maintenance of the Emery Mills and Square Pond dams. So it talks about, it has dams as the department, and then there's a capital reserve for, supposedly for the Emery Mills and Square Pond dams, and then we have the Balls Lake Keepers Fee. And
Town of Sanford owns both those dams, right?
I know they own one of them, which is that other money that's in the charities fund.
That they own the Emery Mills Dam and Square Pond.
Yeah.
And that's why it's 5,000 for those 2 years, right? That's why it's like that.
Yeah.
But should we change, should that book be changed to actually state what this is for?
I would check.
Because I would think that we
I would
would
check
have-
with Michelle and see what the account is titled. She may already have that account titled Henry Mills.
That's it, unless there's a different title somewhere else. I mean,
I mean, in her actually bookkeep, in her spreadsheets and stuff. So-
Okay, let's look at that. 50702, Department 10950. So this is the actual budget book that we're given.
Right, does that show the balance in the accounts?
Nope.
Yeah, so that's what I would check, what the title of the account
You're
is.
talking about the expense sheet, the later
Yeah, I mean, there's $10,000 in there, what's the title of the account with the $10,000 is in?
I'm looking for 10950. But yeah, it's the same as here. 10930, 32. I would think that the title on the expense stuff would be the same, because doesn't it come from all the same place? Oh. Here we go, dams. Oh, that came out weird. PDF generation, don't you look? Okay, so I'm glad I did do this one too.
Yeah, we already did, well.
Just those dams?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the expense summary report.
Yeah.
Dams.
I think we leave it that way then, because if one goes and we wanna use all the money, we go to the town and we say, can we use all the money for,
Yeah, but
I'm
how,
99% sure Ted, it's town of Sanford on both those games.
well, it's made,
That's what
it's meant for both.
Yeah.
it all started because of that group that they put together and Larissa and Bill were going to meetings
Right.
and the former town manager, so that's what the money was started for. That's what the money
Sanford
will be
and
used for.
Shapley Dam Coalition.
Yeah, so that's what the money will be used for.
Oh, that's another thing. On Article 33,
Yeah.
it says Sanford, Acton, Shapley Dams. And that being defined as a general description, but the organization is Sanford and Shapley Dam Coalition. They're kind of leaving a reservation for us, should we actually officially join them. Then it would be Sanford, Acton, Shapley Dam Coalition. Right now, it's Sanford and Shapley.
I
That's in Article 33.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of concern from people, and actually one of the people on the Warrant and Finance about the liability if we joined into the group, so.
Sure.
I think it's better to put the money there, and, in case something happens, to pay our share, but, I don't think we need to
Well,
become a member.
Okay, well, and we have had that discussion. The point in this particular case, though, is just the fact that it says Sanford, Acton, Shapley Dams, and that's not the name of the organization. Which may or may not be relevant.
Well, that's what they put in, right?
I don't know.
They wrote the letter.
Is that what it says?
We put it down however it was requested last year and this year.
Well, let's see. What order is this in? I think they're near the bottom, yeah. So right after Saco River. Saco River. No, that's near the front.
Sanford, Acton, Shapley Dams.
Okay, the Sanford Shapley Dam Coalition budget request for 2013 is 4670.
Okay,
So they say Sanford / Shapley Dam Coalition.
okay, so we should take that.
I think that they informally still say, SASDC, but the A is the and, not active.
Okay.
Okay, balances carried forward. I know we have a little discussion on this. You had a recent change today.
Yeah.
So last year to this year, we have two new ones, cemetery department funds and town hall building maintenance and repair fund. And temporarily gone, public works sand salt fund, it's overdrawn, so no need to carry anything. So please elaborate on the capital improvement fund that's going to be
That gets moved up top,
moved.
that gets moved up on top of the article.
Yeah, to use the money to do the ramp up front?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for this year. See, we're carrying it forward, but we're gonna ask to appropriate this year so we can use that money, I think there's $8,000 plus whatever we get for this, one to use to do that ramp up.
So anything that's in the capital improvement fund will be rolled and appropriated. So,
Right.
basically, and that's kind of my point here, or just my question, an expression of my ignorance, shall we say. So in 2012, Article 8, and this was when we did the siding yes or no, windows yes or no.
Right.
Failing either of those, can we do this? And that article basically said, or received approval to carry forward the maintenance fund balance in the event those two articles failed, and for the purpose of doing repairs,
Right.
generically. So, I think I answered my own question on that last sentence. Was that approval sufficient to make this action permanent? I don't necessarily, I'm gathering that there's really no permission necessary to do any of this, because this article itself is permission, right?
Well, that was
We put it
the
before the town body, and if they say, yeah, do it, that's the permission.
Right, what we've done is everything that's above, and to carry forward but not appropriate, we're asking the town to let us take whatever balances that are in those accounts, put it back into that account with what we're asking the town to put forward for this year, so that we can spend it. So like, town hall building maintenance and repair fund, we asked last year, and I think there was $14,000 left, so we used that to help pay for the siding, the roofing, the fixing the library, and putting 2 new heaters in downstairs. There is gonna be some money left there again this year. We'd like to roll that over so we can finish the roofing, finish siding, and then of course we're gonna do the capital improvement fund to use that $8,000 plus whatever we get for those other pieces of property to do the handicap ramp up front.
And the fact that it's appropriated means it's ready to go.
We can spend
When you
it,
see
yeah,
the
we
need
can
for
go
that
out, we can
purpose.
go out to bid and spend it. If we leave it down below, it carries over and stays in that account that we can't spend it.
And we go back to the townspeople.
That's
Like,
right.
go back to the townspeople again. We need more.
Right, yeah, once you get a bunch in there. Well, it's the same thing like the, road capital improvement, District 1 and 2 summer maintenance, road surfacing. For the past couple of years since we started it, they don't get it done by June.
Yeah.
So instead of us taking that money back, we add it to the next year's money, so if they can get it done in the fall, then the money's still there.
Which is good.
Yeah,
Yes.
And certainly the winter maintenance rollover that just recently started saved a fair amount of bacon on the fact that there was one overdraft that didn't happen because the account was able to start high enough to handle what would have normally been, according to the budget, an overdraft. But the
Yeah.
account started, a little bit more in the black than usual.
yeah, that was last year. We had to use some money from what was left over in order to not go over. This year, we did go over, and that's why there's a question in there.
Well, only on one district though. The other district overspent our budget, but they didn't overspend their account because of the rollover last year,
Right,
per the expense report.
yeah.
Okay, so I think, that, certainly all that seems good, and this was gonna change in warrant 2.0 as well, right?
Yeah, I talked to Michelle about that today, so she's gonna change that.
Give me a heads up on that.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
She did
Okay,
need to.
so,
She did need to.
She's good?
yep,
I was in here harassing
spread it around. Article 37, this year, to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $40,000 from the undesignated fund to be transferred into the capital improvement fund for future town improvement needs. And of course, we are talking about appropriate.
Right.
And we're not raising because it's already there, theoretically.
What we're asking
Assuming our
is,
cash flow is good.
this is our estimate of what's gonna be left from departments that are not in that last article. And so rather than just taking that 40,000, adding it to the undesignated fund, we're asking to put it into the capital improvement fund. And that won't be part of what we're asking to use for that front wall. That'll be a $40,000 balance for next year that's starting. And we'd like to do that every year. So that if a department is saving money, and then they need a new roof at the transfer station, they need new paving at the fire station or something like that, they're putting money towards that now, so that when we have to go and ask the town for more, at least it shows that they're doing it. Because right now it disappears into the undesignated fund and it doesn't show that they're saving money from their budget from the year before. Just, it rolls right over it, so.
So is there any requirements for keeping a minimum of undesignated funds, or is that a different account that needs to be like reserved?
There's no requirement to have an undesignated. Oh, the undesignated fund, the accountants have been recommending to us that we have at least $1 million, and they're better off to be like 1.5.
around 3 months worth of
3 months worth of bills.
operating.
Yeah.
During the year, or at all times, or, how does that jive with?
It's a cash flow thing. If our bills are $400,000 a month, then we should have $1.2 million in the bank in case people don't pay taxes like the last few years where we had so many people. I think we're up to 350,000, maybe 400,000 in taxes that are due to us right now.
So when you're saying 40,000, you're saying 40,000 in excess of what we need to keep? or 40,000 in excess of zero?
I don't understand the question. The 40,000 is what is gonna be left from each of the accounts that, would normally just roll into the undesignated
Oh,
fund.
as opposed to
Transfer
the
station.
total
has-
amount in undesignated.
Right, transfer station has $10,000 left. I'm just giving you figures. Fire department has $5,000 left. The selectmen have 10,000.
So those are fresh receipts for this year as opposed to what's in undesignated.
Right. That's what's gonna be added to the undesignated fund this year. So what we're gonna do is designate it instead of just putting it into the undesignated.
And of course, we don't necessarily even have all that money depending on our cash flow.
We don't. Our, last year, $1 million designated fund included $400,000 in taxes. So on paper, we got $1 million, but that's why they recommend 3 months of, because you may have 2 of those months, you don't actually have the tax money.
Right, we have no money coming in for July, August, September, other than town clerk's office.
And I don't know about the rest of you guys, I'm gonna do it.
Me too.
Okay,
I
well,
gotta go to work in the morning.
we got a late start.
Yeah, I apologize.
All right, and then we're gonna talk about all this stuff again anyway. I think we got a good jump. Ratify acceptance, I just want to see if there's anything I need to talk to you about. Let's see if there's balances. Yeah, nothing that would change the warrant on any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So those are the only, oh, there was a typo. Where the heck was it? Pretty sure it was a typo.
If you could just send that to Michelle, she'll fix that. She's got the one on non-PDF that she can fix.
Only thing I'd like to see you change, Ted, really, is, to delete any, unfunded, warrant articles.
Unfunded warrant. We don't have any, do we? I know the school does, we don't have any, do we?
Yeah, the zoning.
Oh,
Well, I guess we're not leaving. We're good.
We are good. This ends the workshop.